Hey, this is Pi from Lord of the Lost, and you're listening to the Dan Chan Show on Hard Rock Hell Radio.
How are you, Pi? How's things?
Things are hectic, I should say, but nonetheless, obviously, I don't have to tell you about what an album cycle up front the release contains with promo and everything, such as these interviews, which are nice, but the sheer amount this time.
Yeah, sorry to take your time up, mate.
What?
I'm sorry to take your time up.
No, that's not what I meant. You bastard! No, it's not the interviews itself. It's the sheer amount of interviews. Yeah. And also, I should say, I slept 2 hours because of our promo stuff. Yeah. We did a 24-hour live stream.
Wow.
Packing orders at our merch distribution center, packing them ourselves.
Wow.
Signing stuff, doing acoustic music on the live stream and everything for 24 hours.
That's
and
cool.
I slept too. So
I've got you a good time then. Bit of Red Bull, you'll be all right.
Yeah, it's coffee, but I'll be fine. So I'm good.
Good. Now, to clarify before we get into it, it's pi as in mathematical pi, like Pythagoras, and not the apple or meat potato version, right?
Yes, it's not urine.
I'm just checking.
No, yeah, it's perfectly fine. I mean, in German you would pronounce it P, but
P.
You see the issue
problem
here.
Yeah, you either pi or P.
So when I'm international, I'm pi, not P.
Well, you could be pie and peas in England. That's a dinner.
Oh, mushy peas. I love mushy peas, actually.
So do I miss them. Now, let's get into it. So, first of all, how was the worst of the pandemic last year for you? Were you into any box sets? Did you binged, or any skills you learned, or was it solid on this new album of yours?
It actually was this album most of the time. Luckily, I shouldn't say luckily, because the pandemic, obviously, for every musician and actually for every person on Earth was terrible and still is in places. Here in Germany, it eases up a bit with vaccinations rolling out and everything. But still, I have to say, this pandemic, the one good thing that came with it was the time that we had to focus on our album Judas. If it wasn't for the pandemic, we would have been obviously touring a lot. And I mean, I don't know, but I'm having a hard time imagining that it would have been possible to focus on every detail in the way that we were able now. So
it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, really.
Yeah, really, it is. Yeah, and apart from that, I mean, you learn a lot from losing everything that your life revolves around, basically. You cherish things way more now. And actually, that's something that I've never struggled with. But now I'm actually getting nervous thinking about the fact to go on stage again.
Yeah. It's funny that I was speaking to someone, I can't remember, I was speaking to recently on an interview, and they said the same thing to me. They went, it's going to be so weird. It's been so long.
Yeah, way too long. And I'm not nervous as in, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, more in. You'll be into it.
Yeah, sure. It's just the excitement.
Oh no, the buzz
makes me shiver.
Yeah.
I actually watched the scenes of the Download Pilot Festival.
Yeah.
That happened at Donington.
Yeah.
And I immediately got the feeling that a musician has when being side stage, about to go on stage at a festival.
I've done it.
Just looking at that.
It's amazing. I've done it myself.
Yeah.
But I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's that or the aircon, I don't know, because it's quite warm here. But so let's get into it. So you've just released, as you just mentioned, Judas. It's quite spectacular, to be honest. How excited are you to have the album out, especially after the year or so we've had?
Oh God, I mean, this I'm having a hard time, as you can tell, putting it into words.
You sound quite emotional about it.
Yes, I am, because it is. I mean, it was kind of our anchor that we held on to for the last now 1.5 years, because we started the research for this album, actually, because it's a concept album. You have to do a lot of research on the person that is being portrayed in this album, which is
I want to
Judas.
ask you about so it's about Judas, right?
Yeah, well, it's just about Judas doesn't do it justice,
No, of
but
course.
essentially, yeah, that is where everything derives from, actually. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you the lyrical themes of the album. Where does it draw the influences on? But obviously, it's a biblical story.
In parts, yes. So let me explain from the very beginning where we started, because
Great.
The concept Judas came about actually a few years earlier, or the wish to do something with the word Judas, actually, when Chris, our singer, who is a diehard Lady Gaga fan, listened to her song Judas. And it wasn't necessarily about the song of her, it's more about that word Judas and the person Judas, as it's being portrayed in our common knowledge, right? We all know the conventional story of Judas being the traitor, or being depicted as the traitor in the Bible, who sold Jesus to die for 30 pieces of silver, right? Which in itself is quite a story. If it's true or not, if it's true or not, we don't know, but it's quite the story.
I've got an idea.
But if we wanted to do just this story, we could just write one song and then that story would be told again.
Yeah.
Right? We actually began researching about alternative portraits of Judas, how he's also being portrayed in, for example, the apocryphal writings about him that are forbidden by the Catholic Church, for example, or for that matter, by any church. Also, there's a document called the Gospel of Judas, which consists of pure dialogues between Jesus and Judas that they had. What you get from that is so many ways of looking at this person, which enables you to have not only two extremes, him as being the worst of all evil, because he betrayed Jesus, and also having the extreme of him being the actual savior. Because what if he didn't betray Jesus? Jesus wouldn't have been crucified, therefore he wouldn't have died on the cross. The cross wouldn't be the symbol of Christianity, really, or the church for that matter. There wouldn't be any Christianity, and if you're religious or not, it's hard to imagine a world without Christianity, right? Especially for people being religious.
Yeah. So let me just say something. So you've got a track called Priest on there. Was that on purpose?
Because Judas Priest?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Well, as soon as I saw it, I saw the track listing when I got it sent for the label. I was like, "What?" It just, the two words went together like magnets, and I saw it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes. I mean, it wasn't on purpose, but also it was obvious that we wouldn't miss out on that chance.
No, of course.
Really. And apart from that, we have this combination of the album called Judas. The first song of it is Priest. Then you have a quote, a Genesis quote from the band, not the book. In Priest, you have, like in Aerosmith videos, you have one actress leading through the first videos. And so there's a lot of homage here.
Yeah, the hot Alicia Silverstone. You just reminded me.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch his videos again.
Exactly. So that was totally on purpose, because we it's just like a kid's dream that is like, we just want to do that. Same with the Bohemian Rhapsody homage, for They Know Not What They Do.
Yeah. So how do you feel this album is different from 2018's Thorn Star? That was your first album with the band, having joined in 2017. How has it evolved? Obviously, you've had more time. That must be the thing, right? More time during the pandemic to perfect this record.
We did. I mean, we did it. What we did the same is the songwriting process, because we started out in a songwriting camp together, working in different groups of 2 or 3 people each day, and then presenting our results in the evening, and then switching the next day. Yeah, which results in a lot of interesting dynamics during songwriting. What we were more specific about this time was the concept, obviously, of the record, and we were very specific about what we didn't want. So we had a briefing up front, the songwriting camp, because it wasn't only us as a band, us 5, it was also some people from our crew who are also great songwriters and musician friends that we wanted to write with. So you have way more creative power, way more creative influences there.
Yeah.
And luckily everyone got where we wanted to go with this album. And it's a lot more dramatic, I should say, in terms of sound, because we have, for example, a real choir. This time it's not a software instrument, it's a real choir, which enabled us to give the persons in the choir actually lyrics, adding another dimension to Chris's vocals. We have a church organ, an actual church organ, which kind of fits the concept, of course.
Yeah.
And which is also a beast to record.
Yeah.
Because it's so powerful. and yeah, real strings, so it's way more organic, I should say.
You can tell. It's a fantastic album. Now, going back in your history, you joined in, obviously, 2017. Were you aware of the band or a fan of the band before you joined, and how did you join?
Okay, let me fill you in on this. So I was aware of the band beforehand because, actually, I went to university for audio engineering in 2013, and Chris, our singer, was my lecturer.
Really?
Same for our keyboard player, for example, Jared. Chris was also his lecturer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he still lecturing you now?
No. No. I obviously finished my studies. What is it?
I worry about some unusual dynamics on the bus.
No, you can't do
with a whiteboard.
No. Oh God, that would be horrible. I will tell him to F off. No. So I was aware of Chris. I wasn't really aware of the band this time, but at that time, in 2015, Chris asked me to join as a guitar tech, actually. Yeah. And I did that for a year. And in 2016, our former guitarist quit the band, so I had a tryout tour, if you will, in December 2016.
Yeah.
Me not knowing everything what the guys were expecting or thinking of my performances. They weren't telling me anything. Afterwards, they told me it was clear from the first concert that I will join, but they didn't give me any feedback. And right before the last show, so technically my date of entering the band is the 30th December of 2016. That is where they told me, you'll stay. You'll stay.
That's cool.
Okay.
He must have had his eye on you when he was teaching you.
Yeah, and he also wanted me to play in the band. No. Yes, I guess so. I guess.
Yeah, you're on his list. So for the listeners, define your music for me, because I love this genre fluid title, even though when I first read it, I read genre fluid, but gender fluid. But I love it. It fits you perfectly. So is it dark, gothic? What would you say?
It's kind of a tricky question, and obviously for people wanting to categorize music, which is kind of important at times to give the listener who didn't listen to our band the last 10 years like a brief saying of what we are. A snapshot is perfect. So we always say we are kind of metal, which is not entirely true. We're also a bit gothic because we're coming from a gothic background, but we're also pop. We're also industrial at times. Where we love the 80s. So there are a lot of toms in every song. We just love it. But I think the most fitting term that I actually read by someone categorizing us was dark wave metal. And I was like,
that's it.
That's
the nail.
That's the thing now that we say at airports. And the personnel is asking like, oh, so what do you do? We used to say we're playing tennis, but yeah.
So how
it's dark wave metal?
How important is the imagery? Because it's so strong with you guys, and the branding of the band. You know, the inverted cross, the outfits. It's so striking. Whose ideas are they?
Ours. So
all you. So you just decide between yourselves.
Well, not for everyone themselves. So I don't necessarily only decide my outfits, and Chris not only his, and Jared not only his, and Klaas and so on.
Yeah.
The overall concept, the visual concept, usually comes this time. Not usually. This time it came right when we decided to do this concept album, to have the concept Judas, and it actually started in Chris's mind because what is the term in English for people who see colors when they're listening to music?
Oh yeah, I know this.
Synesthesia.
Yeah, synesthesia. Yeah.
Synesthesia, and he kind of has that also with imagery sometimes, and he imagines albums like images.
So white.
so white and black. No, no, but we kind of naturally got to this kind of monochrome, very unsaturated, sleek, exquisite look, if I may say so.
Yeah, I agree.
During touring on Thornstow, it just led to that. I started like making just my face very pale and just having one little symbol as one accent in my face.
A bit like Nachtblut.
Which was
Nachtblut's very similar, like that kind of imagery, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Especially on their last album.
Yes, that is correct. But apart from that, the whole J sign, which some people think it's just
inverted cross.
An inverted cross, which obviously it also is, and it
Judas
kind of fits the imagery here.
Yeah,
but it's supposed to be a J combined with the inverted cross. Sort of happened in 2019. And as you speak of the importance of the imagery and the visual concept, I mean, we always thought of ourselves not only in terms of we have to deliver the music, we also have to deliver the overall experience. Because we all think that music itself, while being the base of everything, of musicians, that is the most important thing, of course, but you don't just listen to our music when you go on Spotify. You also see our album covers. When you go to our shows, you will see us and the whole stage production. And obviously when you see videos, this is kind of the business card also for people who don't know your band.
Yeah.
And in a time where we are glued to screens all of the time, having the littlest attention span, really, the images have to be striking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we love it. We like to play with that. We like to portray ourselves as kind of sinister sometimes, also very, 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 colorful at times, with glitter and everything.
Yeah. It's great. Now, talking about live, are you looking forward to it? You must be buzzing to get back on stage.
Oh, yeah.
No, we just
touched on it. As I said in the beginning, I'm just thinking of it is like a buzz.
And you've got amazing support start with Iron Maiden, which was delayed, I think, from last year, right? That's
Actually, it's delayed from 2020.
2020, yeah. So from last year.
Well, no, last year is 2020, right? Yeah. True, you're right.
Yeah, right. So how did you get that slot? What an amazing opportunity!
It really is, and it is Steve Harris's fault.
Bloody Steve Harris, bloody hell.
Yeah, his favorite band actually is Within Temptation.
Yeah.
And while they are very different from us, they also kind of are in the same genre at times. So I don't know how he exactly found us, but he found us, and he said in the Metal Hammer interview actually, what's the next big thing in metal? And he's obviously said, they tour and everything, and they are taking great bands. For example, his favorite band, Within Temptation. And he also found this cool new German metal band. Their last album was awesome, and he wanted to take them on tour as well, and that happened to be us. So,
So cool.
Their booking agent just wrote, actually, our booking agent.
That's great. That's so good. And do you have any further headline dates of your own around Europe set?
Not yet. I mean, in our internal planning and everything had to be postponed, so we actually didn't announce anything. And it's in the works, I should say. So I know more that I obviously can't disclose yet.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So you've been busy with your socials lately, and you're very close to your fans. Obviously socials really help you feel closer to them, right?
Yeah, true. It's not a one-way street. So obviously what we present on social media, the fans can consume in a way, and they see that we're active, but also we get the feedback. And we, especially in times where we're not only physically distant, but kind of socially distant as well, that is important. And obviously you have... in business, speaking business, you have to make use of your social media to actually reach out and letting the people know that something's happening.
You've done so much for the last week leading up to the album.
Yeah, I'm kind of losing track.
It's very strong, very striking.
We all do, yeah.
Back to the branding again. Back to the branding. It's so good.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Going personally, obviously, you work as a studio engineer, don't you? Obviously, you were taught, within the band, etc. So, what have you done previously before joining the band, and where do you draw your musical influences from?
Well, actually, I worked as a studio engineer before the band, and it actually kind of happened. I finished my university and I joined the band, and at the same time started working as a studio engineer. And I'm still doing that. Obviously, we all do studio stuff, music-related stuff when we're not touring. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And you were asking for a musical influence.
Yeah, your musical
right?
influence. What would you grow up with, and what made you pick the guitar up and get into music?
Sure. So I grew up with a lot of pop punk and nu metal, thanks to my sister. Because she was listening to a lot of Sum 41 and Blink 182, and I still love those two bands. But what made me pick up the guitar was actually Guns N' Roses. So especially, obviously, Slash. Having watched the November Rain video when I was 14, I decided to try to be as cool as Slash, playing the solo in front of a chapel in the desert.
Yeah.
No, but it was a very, very unrealistic imagination for me to actually do that as a job one day. But nonetheless, I wanted to just play guitar, and I went for it. And yeah, from that, I got introduced to more metal, actually. And me being kind of young, but well, not. I'm 27. I'm turning 28 in September. I grew up in the 90s and in the 2000s, so I got the best of the nu metal and
you did.
the metalcore.
Yeah.
The rise of metalcore, right? So that is where I started, and I kind of worked my way back from there to older metal bands, like I should say older Metallica, for example. But I never really got interested to Metallica. It was more like the core side of things.
Yeah,
really.
And what music do you like away from metal? I can see a bit of pop coming out here.
Yeah, I love pop music. I actually, I think my favorite pop artist right now would be Dua Lipa.
Yeah, she's great. Great tracks.
Great voice, and great songwriting. Her production always is.
Yeah.
I mean, she's working with Andrew Watt, so it's a great production.
Yeah, of course. So, in your opinion, what one track sums the band up the best? From either before you joined or since you've joined, that one track that you could go, that is Lord of the Lost, right there.
The Gospel of Judas.
Why?
Because it not only does it contain our weird side, which we very which we emphasize a lot, but it's heavy at times with all the halftime parts in it. It has a very poppy chorus. But it never loses its kind of gothic / industrial feel at the same time.
Right.
So
got you.
Gospel of Judas.
Yeah, I agree. Now, do you feel you're getting bigger outside of Germany than in Germany itself? Similar to Rammstein. I think you're getting so much momentum behind you now.
I wouldn't compare it to the success of Rammstein necessarily. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because they're them and we are us. But just by looking at the sheer amount of interviews that we've done the last weeks and months outside of Germany.
Yeah.
Not that's the only gauging factor, but I should say yes.
Yeah.
We are certainly picking up momentum there.
That's cool. Well, Pi, thanks so much for joining me on the show. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the album and the tours that follow.
Thanks for having me.